What's up, everybody? It's February 9th now. Yep, because I'm working graveyard shift again. And lots happened since my last video. Um, I have changed a lot of my holdings. Well, not changed them, I have added to them. I changed one holding. I had oil, which I'm glad I held for a little while because it did a nice little rally, but I don't see oil rallying into the future. I'll start with that, right? Just because the demand for oil will probably go down, and if the Fed continues to raise interest rates or to hold steady, I just don't see oil rallying because I see the dollar rallying. I still am a subscriber of the Brent Johnson dollar milkshake theory, and ultimately there will be demand for dollars when catastrophes happen in other countries like Venezuela or in Europe or things like that, because it's easier to get dollars than it is to get gold. But if the dollar loses value as well, I think ultimately then gold starts to rally at the same time. So you start to see dollar and gold rally at the same time when there are crises and there are currency issues in the countries around the world. And then also when it comes to debt, as the Fed raises interest rates and the countries around the world have borrowed in dollar terms, they need to pay off their debts because the costs are higher and they need demand for dollars in order to do that. So they have to trade their currencies for the dollar, and it strengthens the dollar, and you see that rally. So that affects oil prices as well. And like I said, I'm expecting a liquidity crisis at some point, where the banks are not going to lend out because the risk of lending out is too high because everybody's in debt, and that includes the banks. And the banks will lend to each other as long as their depositors, or their borrowers, I should say, are paying or servicing their debt that they borrowed from the banks. So once those loans start to default, the banks are going to start looking at each other with some suspicion. Are you able to pay the loan that I'm lending to you? Yeah, you're my peer, but I know how my balance sheet is, so yours must be similar, right? So when the bank's balance sheets start to look bad, they don't lend to each other, and then you get into a issue of cash starts to be hoarded, and you get a liquidity crisis. Just because, why would you lend it out? And people don't earn it. Most people don't save their money; they spend it right away, and they finance their futures by putting it on a credit card and then just waiting for their paycheck to cover that credit card bill. So they've indebted themselves so much that they can't service debt. So there's going to be a liquidity crisis based on debt now, because you don't have people saving or earning anymore. And honestly, why would you? I mean, the banks don't pay that much. I don't put that much money in the bank account. I do have a sizable enough liquid position in cash, in dollars, if I need it for emergencies. And I've had quite a few this last couple of months. But still, I have a good sizable cash position, and I'm glad too, because I've been able to make certain purchases at discounts. So what I did with my oil position is I put it in, excuse me, sorry, catching a little cold again because I'm working and the temperatures are dropping so much for global warming. As I've always said, climate change is a con. But anyway, I rolled some of that cash from the oil position into long-term government treasuries. So because I believe that that's a safety play. So a lot of my plays are defensive. I'm a little bit mixed, mostly defensive and somewhat geared towards inflation. So I have precious metals positions. I've purchased shares in an over-the-counter silver company, Silver One. I have purchased the junior gold mining leveraged ETF, and I will add to that position if I see any capitulation in terms of gold and silver price, which again I think will come with a liquidity crisis, because that's the best way to get cash, right? You liquidate your assets. You sell what you got to get the cash so that you can pay your bills, or you can service whatever you need to do, or eat, or anything like that. So capitulation comes with a liquidity crisis, and I think that will happen with gold and silver. I increased my cryptocurrency holdings, and boy, did I do it in the right time. I bought a chunk of LiteCoin, and LiteCoin just freaking jumped. And it's risen in terms of rankings on the cryptocurrency charts. It went from like number 7 to number 4. So I'm super excited about that. And I see all my other buddies in the cryptocurrency realm are excited about it too, because everybody's talking about it. Can that come back down? Sure, it can. Will I liquidate my Litecoin and try to buy in at a cheaper price? No way. I'm holding that. I'm hodling that Litecoin. I'm going to hold my position on that. Because that's to me a hedge against inflation or currency crisis. And what's going on with the Fed, as the Fed has been raising interest rates, as the Trump administration has placed tariffs on China, China has been hurting dramatically. So they've had to push cash into their markets. And I'm also reading and hearing on interviews that their economy is really teetering on the edge. That's why you hear a lot of their generals talking about, let's go to war with the United States, because they just don't know what they're doing over there. They're not experienced enough. They were able to steal a lot of our intellectual property and our business sense, but they don't have enough experience to know what's going on when your economy overheats and then dies. You get saturation point and liquidity issues because people don't have cash, so they're not going to buy your product anymore when they can't. It's pay my bills or buy your product, eat or buy your product. Well, they're going to choose the more important thing, which is pay their bills and eat. And therefore, China's markets are slowing down dramatically. And as a result, and Trump wanted that. He wanted that so that he has leverage in negotiations. And it's all up to China now at this point. But China is a communist country and they're power hungry. And in order to negotiate, they're going to have to lose something. And I don't know if they're willing to do that. So they may commit suicide by holding on to what they've got, and Trump will just continue to pound them and pound them and pound them. And our treasuries will increase in terms of the money that used to go to China is going to our treasury, because what tariffs are taxes on things that people may import from China. So American people, if they want stuff from China, they're going to end up paying the tax to us, which is great because we're funding ourselves. So there shouldn't be any complaints on that. And if you're going to buy from overseas, why not benefit our country a little bit as well? So that's what those tariffs are about. So I hold a lot of cryptocurrency. I bought a basic attention token. I bought Litecoin. I added to my Ethereum Classic since the 51% attack. A little bit of value was lost on Ethereum Classic, so I saw a good opportunity for me to buy some there. I am not touching Bitcoin. Bitcoin, do I think it can go up to $1 million of Bitcoin? Yeah, that's great. It could. But I don't see that as the main coin anymore. Like I said, I'm really into Litecoin, and Litecoin has really been jumping up the ranks. So I've been investing more in Litecoin because to me the percentage gains are greater for Litecoin and other alternatives for exchange purposes than Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is too slow in terms of transaction and too costly and eats up too much energy. And even though they're rolling out the Lightning Network, I believe that Litecoin was more designed for the faster transactions that they've set up. So to me, it's a better medium of exchange, barring another token or coin that comes out that does that better. So my cryptocurrency holdings are pretty much the same. I don't like, I've invested in some shit coins, and a couple of them have gone to zero on Cryptopia. I have some coins on that exchange. I don't necessarily use a wallet, and I am very cautious about the exchanges, and I'm more than aware that the exchange could go under and I could lose everything from that. But I've heard many issues with some of the hard wallets, so I'm doing a little bit more research before I use those wallets. I think it was Dick Allgaier had an issue with his Trezor wallet, and I'm not particularly fond of the Trezor. I'm actually looking into the new Nanos, the ledgers. So let me do a little bit more research on that before I advise you on that. Um, I had a cryptocurrency wallet on my laptop, but now that it's not easy to swap between tokens anymore, so and coins. So I'm looking at getting a little Ledger Nano S or something like that, and something where I can just hold the cryptocurrency on there. But in the meantime, when I have it on an exchange, what I do is I commit the coins to a trade immediately. And in my opinion, that protects it from hacking because it's not available for withdrawal. It changes the classification of that coin or token in the exchange. But I don't recommend you hold anything. I don't recommend anything, number one. None of this is financial advice. None of it is any type of advice. I'm not qualified to do that. This is just entertainment purposes, in my opinion. And if you want to do what I do, that's great. Let's see. So we had the State of the Union address with President Trump, and he nailed it, knocked it out of the park. The Democrats are increasingly revealing that they are the demons. They like killing babies after birth, which is a very slippery slope. I did in another video about slippery slope. They're actually connecting abortion to murder now. So they're making it so that murder is something that you choose. You can choose to murder. Basically, they've pretty much slipped it in there. And if you've accepted abortion, you are very close to accepting murder. And I've always said that from the beginning. That's what it is. Because a baby is not your body. You have no choice over someone else's body. And if you have a choice over a baby whose DNA is not yours, how is that any different than a choice over somebody you don't like? Their DNA is not like yours. And don't give me that it's a self-defense issue, because it has nothing to do with self-defense. You decided, I do believe in pro-choice. You have a choice of whether you want to have sex or not. And, you have to be able to bear the consequences of having that sexual relationship. Sometimes that's pregnancy. Sometimes that's disease. And you can't exactly kill all diseases. You may have to accept what you got there. They don't have cures for many of the venereal diseases, sexually transmitted diseases that you get. So when you make a choice to do something, you got to bear the consequences. A baby is a consequence of that, and it's a human being. So you don't just go kill a human being. And so this is where the Democrats start to reveal the inconsistencies and the evils in their philosophies, because they talk about how they want to protect children, but yet they're willing to murder them. They're willing to murder them in exchange for sex. Well, this connects to pedophilia. This connects to child abuse. Because a child abuser, sexual abuser, molester does not take into account the child's life or humanity. They're just an object for their purposes. And so when the Democrats start to argue at the border also about how separating parents from their children is an issue, well, there's child sex trafficking in that regard. And also, if parenting is such an important thing, of keeping a child and a parent together, you wouldn't abort a child. So all the inconsistencies are starting to come together, and they're also talking about how we need to protect our children from guns, so they need to seize your guns. Well, no, you need guns for self-defense from the criminals, the murderers, who the Democrats are turning out to be. And now they want to take your guns. I'm telling you guys, you need to be very cautious about who the Democrats are. They're very dangerous. And they try to steal your rights, and they make it seem like they are good people. In a lot of ways, the Luciferians are doing that now too, and I see a lot of connections between Luciferian thought and communist thought, because they turn their backs on God. God is the source of all things good, all things living. So even within the church, the devil has gotten into the Catholic Church, and many of the bishops, the cardinals, The regular priests and brothers are homosexual. They're child molesters. Uh, it's a real problem everywhere. And many of the Protestants like to poke their fingers at the Catholic Church, like, oh, yeah, see, your guys are evil, and that's why it's happening to you. Well, you're blind to the fact that it's happening in your church too. And you are not honest because you don't recognize that fact. You deny it and you lie to yourself that your church is the best church, and that stuff doesn't happen in your church. Meanwhile, you're probably putting your kids with your pastor, and your pastor is molesting the crap out of them, and your kids are too scared to tell you or embarrassed, and you're sitting there gloating about how great your religion is. Now, honestly, you need to be more honest, more real about what you're living with, what you're dealing with. And in a lot of ways, everything in this world would improve if people were just honest about what's going on, but they're not. And so they lie to others, they allow others to lie to them, and no one really knows what truth is anymore. They've become very confused. And so this is why I'm defensive when it comes to my portfolio, my investments, everything that I do. I'm preparing for the worst because I think it's coming. And President Trump can tout the economy all he wants, but the fact of the matter is the central banks control money flows. So it doesn't matter how good your economy and your economic numbers are, the money flows are controlled by the Fed. And if they want to destroy the economy, they can do that easy. If they want to raise it up, it's not as easy because we still have to, like I said, we've saturated the markets and everything. We got to correct. We have to revert to the mean. So anyway, it's at 17 minutes. I'm going to call it at that. I'll do some other videos. I've done EDC videos in the past, and I haven't done an EDC, everyday carry video recently, so I think I need to do one of those. And I also picked up a couple of firearms, so I should do some reviews with that and kind of, let you guys see what I'm doing so that you can decide what you want to do for your lives and for your prosperity and for your families. Love y'all. Thank you. If it's your first time visiting this channel, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification button so that you know when I make a new video. And most importantly, share it with those that you believe can benefit from the information that I provide here. I know my energy level is kind of low because it's early in the morning. I'm doing work and I just taking my break and trying to get a video out there. But thank you. And I also have donation links below for any cryptocurrencies, and if anyone wants to donate, I appreciate that. And thank you to those who have donated. Your support is much appreciated. Since I don't do this for charge, any donations I receive, it helps for me to put out these videos. All right, love y'all. God bless you, and take care, and we'll see you in the next video.